What's up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees. I'm here with Nick today, and we're going to be talking about Oswaldo Cabrera, who just recently came back from the IL. He's in AAA. He's on the 40-man roster. We saw him hit a grand slam in spring training, and last night absolutely uncorks on a fastball, sends it deep into right field, and he's back, man. He looks pretty good.
Off of
But
Justin Dunn
before,
too, right?
yeah, former major leaguer. I believe he was with the Mariners, was traded in the Winker trade to the Reds with their AAA affiliate right now. So that's a guy who's a major league caliber pitcher who he just took yards. So that isn't some, random scrub. That's a major league caliber pitcher. And we know that there's a lot of major league talent in AAA. So dominating in AAA is great. He's put up some impressive numbers. His OPS is now 906 at AAA. But Nick, tell me what you think about Cabrera, because I would say I'm pretty high on him, but I'd love to hear your perspective.
I mean, the dude has so much talent, and he genuinely, in my opinion, could be a consistent 2020 guy in the major leagues. Last year, he just broke out in a huge way. Hit 29 home runs, stole 21 bags, and I think AA. Or was last year? Last year was in I believe it was. Yeah, last year was like a mix. It was AA and AAA. Sorry. But he clearly has the tools to be a potential middle infielder of the future for this team. Second base, shortstop, whatever you want it to be, even third base. I think Oswaldo Cabrera is a name that people should be looking at more. He's like the Yankees' 13th rated prospect in like Baseball America, Fangraphs, MLB. Like all these guys kind of have him as that mid-teens ranked prospect in the system. And that's basically piggybacking off of his phenomenal season last year where he just broke out. He's only 23. And at this point, if the Yankees do decide to deal Peraza, Cabrera should be the next guy up at shortstop for the Yankees because IKF clearly sucks at everything. Even yesterday, like granted, Clay Holmes had his worst game I've ever seen him have in a Yankees uniform. I mean, naturally, it was only a matter of time until he kind of had a stinker. But IKF, like again, he missed the one that he should have had. Like when you dive 3 seconds early and it bounces off your glove, that's a play you should have had. So I'm kind of getting sick of that, and I feel like Cabrera could be the answer there if it's not Peraza, especially with all these trade rumors floating around.
Yeah, I'd imagine if the Yankees are trading for Castillo, Peraza's gone. Like that's the way I see it, right? It's either him or Waldichuk, or Wells. And if you look at replaceability, with the Yankees' depth, Peraza, I love Peraza. I think he's a good prospect, but let's just be real here. In terms of replaceability, Peraza is pretty replaceable because you have Cabrera, and obviously the guy who's going to supposedly be the guy at shortstop. And I'm not saying supposedly in a sarcastic way. I'm saying it as in we don't know yet, but very likely it is that Volpe is that main guy. He's the Yankees' top prospect. He's the top 10 prospect in baseball. He's the main guy for the Yankees. But I look at Cabrera, and I know there's going to be people who are upset with what I'm about to say. And I've said this repeatedly, but here's the difference between Cabrera and IKF. If I'm a pitcher facing Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I know he's not giving up. He's not getting the big hit, that big double or home run to break the score open. With Oswaldo Cabrera, you try to sneak a fastball by him, and he's putting that ball into right field or left field, depending on which side of the plate he's hitting. And that he's a danger to do that. I'm not saying Cabrera comes up and is immediately a 20 home run guy, but he can come up and be a competent bat and be a guy who has major league caliber power. IKF's his hardest hit ball or his furthest hit ball was either that liner to right field against Boston that was caught, or that line drive to center field yesterday.
That one that went to center field was like the most, like I think the best launch angle he's had in the ball this season, and it went to like 25 feet short of the center field wall.
Yeah, that was probably his best shot so far in a home run, and it didn't come close.
Yeah, I mean, the dude has on the season he has 12 extra base hits, and again, for someone with his speed, he should have more than 12 extra base hits, but he doesn't get barrels. He doesn't lift the ball. He's one of the worst fly ball hitters in baseball. He has like one of the lowest percentage for fly ball percentage in baseball. And he just loves soft contact. He loves hitting it into double plays, loves hitting it to the middle infield. Whereas Cabrera, he actually can slap the ball around. He can hit the ball at all parts of the field. And him being a switch-handed bat immediately gives him twice as much value as IKF, just by that fact alone. And if he ends up kind of doing what some switch hitters do, in that they just kind of more choose to bat from one side of the plate, whichever is more comfortable, even then he's still going to be more valuable than IKF. People need to stop like acting like IKF is a great player or like he's doing the job. He's a contact hitter and he's batting like 260. He's a glove first shortstop, and he's like bottom 10 in numerous defensive categories at shortstop. So at this point, it's like when you have a .6 F4 basically halfway through the season, more than halfway through the season, you're not doing the job. There's guys that are better than you. Everyone's been griping about Joey Gallo for good reason. But IKF has a lower WRC plus than Joey Gallo, and people still defend him vehemently.
Yeah, as you mentioned, look, this is a guy who's in the bottom. He's not even in the top 20 in F4 among shortstops, which is embarrassing, right? In terms of defensive
He plays
metrics, he
more than
doesn't
a lot
rank
of those
top.
guys too.
Yeah, he doesn't have he's not top, and that's among he's 23rd, I believe, in F4 amongst guys shortstops with at least 200 play appearances. So there are guys with, way fewer play appearances that have similar F4s, if not better.
Yeah.
He doesn't rank top 5 in defensive run saved. Doesn't rank top 5 in UZR per 150. He doesn't rank top. He's actually a bad defender in OAA, but I'll say that because he's good in UZR and DRS and bad in OAA, he's more of an average defender. I'm not gonna say he's a bad defender. I think we
No, I
both
think he's an
agree that.
average defender. Like there are
Yeah,
things he's good at, but then there are things he's not good at. Like there are plays that you're like, wow, that was an amazing play. But then there are also
exactly.
plays like a routine ground ball that it's like, why are you botching that? Why are we double clutching? How did you drop that? Look at that throw to Rizzo with a noodle arm. Like that's why his Uzi R and stuff are very low. He does not have a great arm. Let's be honest.
Yeah, his
IKF's
arms
arm is
are
not the
subpar.
best. But the main problem with IKF is just that it seems like the Yankees are kind of content with his mediocrity. Whereas you've seen with Gallo, there's been a lot of shifting of the lineup to try to get Gallo like one at the beginning of the season. They tried to get him going. They tried to get him opportunities. They moved him down in the lineup. They moved him up in the lineup. They moved him to right field. And now they're just kind of at the point where it's like Hicks's injury makes it so Gallo has to play more. But the Yankees are kind of straying away from playing Gallo now because of how bad he's been. Whereas with IKF, I feel like the guy still is playing 4 out of 5 games. And it's like that needs to end sometime soon. And if they decide to trade away Perazza for Castillo, that means that I guess they're thinking to themselves, okay, in the next few years, Volpe will be here and he will be the answer. But until then, you've got to give Cabrera a shot. Like I know he plays second base quite well as well, so maybe shortstop isn't the 100% the answer. But either way, you put him at shortstop and his bat alone will probably bring him .6 F4 for the remainder of the season if they called him up today.
Yeah, and you know what's embarrassing? I know I know Marwin isn't. I don't think he should ever start because I think the value from versatility is too valuable, right? I know some people are suggesting, well, why don't they start Marwin? Because,
He has earned
well,
it. He has played well.
yeah, of course, no, of course he like. I think that he has deserved that type of attention. Like, hey, why isn't he starting at shortstop? But I also
Yeah.
understand from the perspective of the guy plays so many positions and he does something that no one else on the team can do in terms of versatility. You would love to have that on your bench, preferably. He has a .7 F4. I want people to understand he has more outs above average and a better UZR at shortstop than Isaiah Kiner Falefa. He's a better
IKF's just
defensive
not
shortstop than
good.
Isaiah
He's just
Kiner
not a
Falefa.
good player. Like I was
Right.
expecting him to come over in the Law Dog to get in the lab with him and tweak his launch angle a little bit, similar to what they did with DJ LeMahieu. And I was like, okay, maybe we'll see more doubles. Maybe we'll see 8, 12 home runs. Instead, it's been none of that. In fact, he's doing the complete opposite of what seemingly like every other Yankee hitter's been doing. Like Rizzo sold to hit fly balls and get launch angle this year. And now he's an 860 OPS first baseman on pace for a career year in terms of his value and home runs. Whereas IKF just seems to just go against the wants of the team and continue to hit into repeated ground balls. Like it's one thing if you get on top of it, like DJ gets on top of it every now and then. But DJ LeMahieu also has some of the most clutch at bats on the team, knows how to work a walk, and plays gold glove defense at any position he plays. IKF literally just has to worry about shortstop and hitting like 275, 280. No one's expecting him to be this star offensive player, and yet he can't do any of that. So it's like at this point, I know Cabrera just came back from injury and he missed 2 months with an injury. So it's like maybe obviously we shouldn't rush him, but he's clearly MLB ready. And at this point, if you're gonna shake it up and not go get a shortstop, you have options in your farm. The Yankees middle infield like spots specifically are some of the most loaded in all of baseball for their farm system. So like Cabrera, Perazza, Volpe, Sweeney, Vargas, Arias, like there's so many good names in there that in the next 4 years, 3 years will most definitely feature in pinstripes. So I just think Cabrera, if you don't use him now, when?
Right, and I've seen a lot of people say the point of if they're not going to be on the major league roster, trade them. Right, if you have no plans of starting up Peraza, why is he still here? Right, I'm not saying this to say that like I know a lot of people make this claim that we're asking the Yankees to have a superstar at every position. No, because Cabrera is not a superstar. Could he be a star player? Sure,
Yeah,
but that's not my expectation for him at all. Right now, especially in his rookie year, like I think the play discipline isn't great for him either. So I don't think he's a star player, and I don't think he becomes a 5-win player or anything like that. But you know what we're asking for? We're asking for competence. We're asking
thank
for
you.
someone who can, have a better OPS plus than Joey Gallo. We're asking for someone who can be a defensive or play great defense, right? If he was putting up an 85 WRC plus, let's say, with great defense, neither of us would be complaining because
No,
there's value there, right? You're doing something to
that's
contribute.
basically what
Where's
your guy Ha-Sung Kim is doing for the Padres. He's got
right?
double
He has
the
100
F4 of
WRC plus.
IKF, and he can't hit at all. Granted, I think it's lefties that he hits really, really well this season. I think he's got like a 147 WRC plus against lefties, and then against righties it's like 70. But defensively, he's just been a beast. So him, like, that's a perfect example of a guy that isn't going to hit very well, but can provide value defensively. Kevin Kiermaier made his entire career off of it. The dude was one of the worst hitters in baseball and yet still finished like four F4 seasons because he was so good defensively. Now, I'm not saying I expected IKF to be Kevin Kiermaier, but I expected IKF to be a more than competent shortstop that I didn't go like, every time a ground ball was hit to. Like, it's like Glaber, and Glaber got shafted for being a bad shortstop and for making stupid mistakes. And yet people defend IKF still. Like, I don't think Glaber would be a better shortstop because he's even tried it this year and it still doesn't work. But there's a lot of options out there and internally that are better options than IKF, with Oswaldo Cabrera being one of them.
Yeah, and lastly, to touch up on it, it's not Cabrera's been killing in AAA, right? I know this year he struggled a little bit to start, but he was hurt. But overall, his numbers in AAA going back to last year, he has a 136 WRC plus, 906 OPS. He's looking over 500, right? He has a solid on base rate. It's over 30. He has a solid on base percentage. It's over 340, right? Like if he can come up for the Yankees, you see a switch hitting capabilities. You see how much he can pull fly balls, and he can give you 95 WRC plus with average defense, right? Like
Yeah.
that's an upgrade. He's a good base runner, right? He's really fast, great athlete. He was originally signed as a defense first, base running first type of guy, and he's kind of evolved into this power bat with his ability to start pulling the ball. He added some muscle last offseason, not last offseason, the offseason before the 2021 season. And that process of, hey, let's pull the ball, let's pull fly balls, let's hit the ball in the air, let's get the ball into the seats. It's worked for him.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it comes to the point where it's like there's just you can't keep running the same old charade out there. And again, you're perfectly right. The Yankees don't need a superstar shortstop. They don't really need a superstar anything. They just need competence, depth, and key pieces to get them over the top. Because right now they're at the top, but there are still some teams that I think can beat the Yankees. However, you get Luis Castillo, you get a competent shortstop, you get an outfielder, and this team just went that much further. And that's the thing. Like, again, you don't need an 850 OPS player at every position. But when you have IKF, whose job is to hit, like slap it around and play great defense, and you have him at an 81 WRC plus and an OPS of like 630, both of which are lower than Joey Gallo, there are problems, big problems. Everyone hates on Joey
Yeah.
Gallo. The guy is batting 100 points lower than IKF and has the same OPS and same WRC plus. So if you really want to tell me that batting average means something, just look at that example right there.
Yeah, if IKF was able to hit 300, his on base percentage would be much higher, but he isn't doing that, and he
Well, even then it'd
isn't
be like
going to do
330.
it.
It'd be like
Yeah, but
340.
you know what? You would take
His
it
on
because a
base is
330.
310, 312.
Hey man, if his WRC plus was closer to like 90, 95, cool, sure, take it. But he's
With good
not that, and I
defense.
don't think you. Yeah, he won't be that. So the
There's
Yankees
just
have to
none of
start.
it. It's like move on, bring Cabrera in, bring Peraza in, someone. Because Cabrera, again, 29 home runs and 21 steals last year. That's not a fluke. That's not a flash in the pan. The
right.
dude has power. He has torque. He's a switch-handed bat. And he can play both middle infield positions. So it's like if we do have injuries at second base, he could slot over there. Whereas IKF, I don't even feel comfortable having him at shortstop. And you want to like use him as a utility guy? Like I at this point, I just don't even know what to do with IKF. Like I'm kind of at my wit's end with him. I know this wasn't meant to be an IKF hate episode, but the Cabrera process relies on IKF losing his at bats because at
Yeah,
this
I don't.
point, I'm kind of getting repetitive with it, but IKF literally brings nothing to the table of real value except for some flash in the pan defensive abilities and some solid speed.
Yeah, I'll give my last thoughts now and then let you have your last thoughts on it.
No, those are my last thoughts. I'll let you wrap. I'll
All
let you
right.
wrap it up. Yeah, those are my last thoughts. Just
So
basically Cabrera up, Peraza up, IKF down in terms of trending.
yeah, put pressure on a defense works when you're hitting the ball and you're making quality contact. It doesn't work when you're chopping the ball at the shortstop. That's not putting pressure on a defense. That doesn't take much to do unless you're ICAF who for some reason can't make those routine plays. But for Cabrera, right, there's power there. There's switching power there. There's offensive versatility. He has some good speed. You could get creative sometimes if he's hitting well. You could try to lead him off for a game or two if Blumey needs a day off. You can play him at second base. You can play him at third base. You can play him in a lot of different positions. And I think the power there it's too much to pass up on. If the Yankees are willing to take a third baseman and try to make them their starting shortstop in IKF, you're willing to take a utility guy who's played shortstop a lot and make him your shortstop.
That's
so
it.
those are my
Like, the Yankees took the flyer on IKF. They knew that he's really had like half a season at shortstop, and he got his Gold Glove at third base. They knew all this when they acquired him, and they willingly took on Donaldson's contract to get IKF, even though because the Yankees tried to get him from the Rangers, but the Rangers liked Garver more than Gary. We learned all this after the fact. So it's like the fact that the Yankees kind of went out of their way and willingly took on JD's $50 million to bring in the defensive stalwart and change the face of this team in IKF defensively. And it's kind of not worked at all. It seems like everyone on defense has done their job and exceeded expectations except for IKF. So like even Gallo in right field looks pretty good. In left field, on the other hand, it's a nightmare. But in right field, he looks pretty great. So I just think that if the Yankees really want to win a World Series, IKF's got to stop getting at bats, like sooner rather than later here, because it's getting to the point where you have the tools the Yankees wanted to kind of re-identify with and put more emphasis on in the offseason, where he's got the speed, he's got the glove. However, this season we've seen he doesn't really have the glove, and honestly, the fact that he can't like get any extra base hits negates his speed a lot because he's not one of those guys that's going to steal second all the time. So he's just there. He's just literally just a far worse Nicky Lopez. And Nicky Lopez this year is ass.
Yeah. And I agree with everything you said there, but let us know what you guys think about this situation. Do you guys think Oswaldo Cabrera could be that starting shortstop? Are you more Peraza guy? I mean, I don't think Nick and I have a bias either way. I think we'd be fine with either.
It's just whoever's here,
what do you think
whoever doesn't get traded.
Right. Yeah, let us know what you guys think. ICAF, he definitely someone that people have opinions on, so we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. You guys have been great with sharing your thoughts on these players. We appreciate you guys for tuning in so much and subscribing and liking and sharing our content. You guys mean the world to us, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.